There is a lot of noise about Joe Biden. Joe Biden, step down. He's too old. This, that. He can't win. All this right? But here's the deal. We haven't even had our convention yet. There are a lot of people upset at Joe Biden. They're upset over Gaza. Some people are saying they're voting for RFK, which is a waste of a vote. Brainworms. Yeah, okay. And so there's a lot of turmoil going on. Everybody is scared that Trump might win. There's a lot of fear going on. A lot of fear. And we're having a lot of really pointed conversations in the Democratic Party because we don't just blindly accept our leaders. We question everybody and everything. And I don't think that's harmful. But I think it's real dangerous to think that you can just depose your primary winning candidate and everything he's built over the last couple of years while he was running, and then in 3 months just plug somebody else in there and it's going to be scot-free. We saw Joe Biden at the debate, and that created a sense of panic. Everybody was expecting the State of the Union, and we didn't see the State of the Union. Joe Biden scared everybody. The press went into full-blown panic mode, and then some of the big donors have been going into panic mode. And then there's a bunch of people in the Democratic Party trying to keep those donors' money. There's a lot at play. That's the game. But other than just the polls and the frenzy in the media, AOC is actually in Congress, which I think has some value.
I'm going to take you through my thinking, and if you disagree with it, and if you think it's terrible, and if you think I'm wrong, that's fine, but I at least want you to know what I see, and we can all come to our own conclusions. All right? So let's get into it. We saw, 2-3 weeks ago now, the president debated Donald Trump. And that debate
was a disaster.
Sucked, okay? It sucked for everybody.
It did.
Donald Trump sucked.
Dude, Trump was no better than Joe Biden.
Didn't do well, to say the least. And
I'd like to go on record here and say that Jake Tapper and Dana Bash sucked too. They did. They were so bad. Dude, Dana Bash with that abortion, there's no restrictions in any state after Donald Trump lied about live babies being executed. Like, come on, bro. They targeted Biden the whole time. They fluffed Donald Trump. Like this shit, bro. This article came out today. CNN taking the sexual abuser, the star banger and cover-upper, and they're saying, oh, but he's not bad to women. The women in private say he's actually really good. He's really this is the reality we're living in. It's not a level playing field. They've been doing this to Donald Trump this entire campaign. They did it to him all through 2016. He's certifiably dangerous. He's like a mental patient, a sociopath. And the whole time he's been running for office, they've been treating him like he's some quirky, lovable uncle that is not really going to do all the harmful shit he says he's going to do, even though he actually does it or tries doing it.
I think, to be very frank, it pretty closely captured what I think a lot of the mood in the country is right now, which is that people don't love where we're at. They don't love our options. A lot of people don't love that we have the same exact matchup all over again, which is to say that the debate didn't change much at all.
That's fair.
It didn't really change a lot.
Nobody's excited that these are our two candidates.
Perceptions,
right?
In terms of where the electorate is at.
I'll be honest. I don't think people are excited about the political climate right now in general. I feel like, from my vantage point, that Donald Trump, his entry into politics and his particular Trumpian style of they're all demons and it's a third world nation unless I'm in power, and his supporters being weirdo hillbillies and shit and devoted, and they're talking, MTG's talking about how she saw the flag shape itself like an angel and God's hand and all that, is making it so politics is kind of gross, man. You can't even reach a hand across the aisle anymore because the people across the aisle think we're satanic demons and they want to perform an exorcism. So trying to get health care is all of a sudden we're like communists because we don't want to die in the streets. All deportation, all Jesus, or you, you're a demon and we need to eradicate you. Dude, that's some bullshit. The religious fervor is reaching mental illness levels. And then the people who claim to be religious are the most toxic and dirty and nasty and mean people out there. They're so scummy. They're like, we love Jesus. And then they're like, everybody but us are degenerate, devilish pieces of trash. It's like, whoa, slow down there, shit kicker.
And
like, come on.
Going into the debate, I'm pretty sure a lot of people knew that the president is old. The president is very old.
Yes, we knew. I was aware.
Donald Trump is also very old and a racist and a neo-Nazi. But anyway,
thank you, AOC.
I'm not even going to talk about Trump.
Dude, they don't like that, though, the Trumpsters, when you say that.
So we knew that going into it. And I feel like
that
people knew that coming out of it. Now, what we also saw, and what I've seen, is that a lot of people who follow politics, a lot that I've noticed of kind of this like class of people above, I shouldn't say above, but like separate from voters. Like we all know, we live in this country. There's voters, and then there's people with power, and there's people with a lot of money, and there's people with a lot of influence. And in the country that we live in, we have everyday people, and we have voters, and we have government, and then you kind of have this class of people in between.
This is important.
And media, and wealthy people, and donors, and organization leaders, and whatever, and they kind of occupy this space in between. Oh, look at that. They kind of occupy this space in between voters and the policies that we get.
My take on it is that middle group, that sort of donor and pundit class, what do they want? Okay, you got to ask, what do they want? Because they keep saying we're making this big deal about Joe Biden because we really want to beat Trump, right? That's what they say. But then they post articles like this, bro. And CNN and the reporters that are making this article like glad-handing Donald Trump, these guys are helping Trump win. So you simultaneously have CNN politics creating articles that are helping Trump win, creating a beneficial narrative, apologizing and humanizing and downplaying Trump. CNN is, and MSNBC and every other news org out there, Axios, Politico, they're all helping Trump win with their reporting. And then they're simultaneously, though, saying, oh, but we're trying to eject Biden because we really need to beat Trump. And that doesn't add up. That's a real problem. That's an indicator that something more is going on, guys. Because you don't say, we got to get rid of the candidate because we got to beat Trump, and then simultaneously write a bunch of news stories that make Trump look like a good guy that should be elected. Okay? You see what I'm saying? Those puzzle pieces don't fit. It's the wrong peg in the wrong hole right there, guys. So that's why we know something is going on. Something's not adding up, guys.
I think what is legitimately motivating a lot of people in this conversation is that everybody is terrified of a Trump presidency. And everybody wants to do everything and anything possible to prevent that from happening. And I legitimately believe that this is a situation where a lot of people are motivated by very shared goals and may look at the landscape of things and come to different conclusions. So I want to say that because I want you to see what I'm seeing. This class of donors, decision makers, power players, etc., started to waver after the debate. And they're looking at the polling and they're looking at the performance and they're saying all of these things and they're saying, we need to jump ship. Now, I think there's a couple of things there. But let's say you're convinced by that argument. I'm not entirely, by the way, because I have not seen the fully laid out bulletproof data case. It's also July, but I totally can concede that a person very invested can have all these counterpoints to that. To me, like brass tacks, when I think about the case in terms of supporting a Joe Biden presidency or being okay with Joe Biden continuing to be the nominee, I'm looking at a watch, and I'm looking at a clock, and I'm looking at a calendar. And I think that if people want to have this conversation 6 months ago, 8 months ago, a year ago, it's a very different landscape of logistics.
See, that's a huge point right there, right? That's a massive, massive point right there, is that, yes, this is a conversation that should have been had, a year ago, right? We should have been having this conversation, not now, but it should have been had way back in the day when, in the early part of Joe Biden deciding to run. That is such a massive and valid point.
Every single person, I shouldn't say every single person, I'm going to say in this class of people that you see coming out now, right? If you're an everyday person that has this opinion, I'm not coming for you. But this whole class of people who are coming with this other opinion now have supported the president the entire time. And many of those people are the same people who closed ranks around anybody who even wanted to raise this conversation a year ago.
Ah, that's really interesting, right? You see that, guys? She's saying that the people that are being vocal now are the very ones who wouldn't let this discussion get off the ground a year ago. That's really interesting. When the time for making a change and doing something was there, everybody was tight-lipped about it. But now, 4 months before the election, they're all like, oh, that stinks.
I think people need to understand the reality and the gravity of what these people are proposing. And I'm not saying this is all a reason not to do it, but I do think that people are talking about this without having two eyes wide open as to what this really means. The Democratic convention is in, 4 weeks?
A couple weeks, man.
So?
Dude, it's such a dumb time to be fighting for this.
Legal ballot access issues that require a name to be enrolled and certified on their ballot even before the convention. And that's not because of Democrats. That's because of Republicans. And to people, there are some people that quibble and they say, oh, well, that's not really true because they actually passed this other law that allows the deadline to change. That law that allowed that deadline to quote unquote change also gets enacted and enrolled something like 60 or 90 days after passage, which now puts us in a legal gray zone.
Yeah, now, have you guys heard about this? This is the legal gray area regarding the Ohio thing. Ohio had a deadline that said you must declare your candidacy by this date, which was before the Democratic convention. So if Joe Biden went to the Democratic convention and got nominated, they make it official, it would be too late for him to be on the ballot in Ohio. So what happened is the governor of Ohio passed a law changing the date of the Ohio certification until 6 days or whatever, a week after the convention, whatever it is, right? Okay, he changed the date, okay? But here's the fine print. They passed the law in June, and the law doesn't go into effect for 90 days. So until September 1st, the law won't go into effect. Now, on September 1st, a law in Ohio goes into effect saying the new date, the date of like requirement, you have until the 6th so they can certify him, right? But what it does is it leaves a gray area where prior to that law taking effect, from the date in August where you needed to be certified in Ohio until September 1st when that law goes into effect, during some of that time, Joe Biden will be non-compliant. He will be illegal, essentially, because the law has not been changed until September 1st. So up until the convention, he will not be legal in the state of Ohio. And then on September 1st, a law kicks in that says now he's legal again. So the problem is we know Republicans love their legal challenges. They legally challenge everything. The law could kick in. He gets nominated. He goes in and files a thing, and he's legal in Ohio, but then they go and challenge it. And they say, well, after September 1st, he was legal, but before the convention, he wasn't. And all they'd have to do is find a judge, a Trump judge in Ohio, shouldn't be very hard in that district, to side with them. Worst case scenario, goes to the Supreme Court. We know Joe Biden's going to lose there. So the whole thing is there's a lot of legality. There's a lot of gray area legalese around this because we know Republicans, I mean, they sued 60 times in 2020. So it's not cut and dry.
Or whether you don't think it's above board, I can tell you that it is guaranteed and it is virtually guaranteed.
You're right.
And it has been confirmed by the Republican Speaker of the House that Republicans are already preparing legal challenges to any name change on the ballot that may happen, occur, arise, or be possible.
They are going to legal challenge
and so for
everything.
I want us to, opening this conversation, I think it's important for us to consider the stakes, okay? Before you even get into the merits, talk about the stakes. If this is even something that can be opened, right? And what we know is that we can virtually guarantee, Mike Johnson came out and said that they're absolutely preparing legal challenges to wherever it's possible.
Dude, they're trying to challenge the counting of the mail-in ballots, right? Already. Their Republicans are going to challenge mail-in ballots being counted after midnight. They want to stop the counting of ballots at midnight. Like, no, we're not here to count all the ballots. We only count until the day's over, and then the election's over.
But I am saying that's what's at the table, and guess what? Republicans, they mount that legal challenge. The possibility of our elections being decided by a Supreme Court ruling, skyrocket.
Yeah, and what's going to happen then?
I'm not here to
if it goes to the Supreme Court.
Fear. I'm not saying this to use fear.
I wonder who'd win then.
To dissuade
think about that for a minute.
Their position. But I need us to understand.
I mean, what do you think, guys? If the decision went to the Supreme Court and the Supreme Court had to pick a winner, who you think would win?
And the stakes. Okay? And that's point number one. Like,
we don't want this going to the Supreme Court. We do not.
That I have been, and I want to tell you also why I'm telling you this, is because the last 2 or 3 weeks of members of Congress or quote unquote Democratic sources.
Yeah, this is some bullshit too.
Going on background and, how did a filter get on here? Oh my God.
Dude, she's so funny.
Turned off. The possibility so what's really upset me is that these conversations, I believe in transparency. At the same time, litigating like huge conversations among people of power in public can dramatically hurt our chances depending on the outcome of that conversation. And so sometimes certain conversations are best held in private, especially if there's ambiguity or a lack of decision on it. And so what I see right now, and I want you all to know, is that over the last several weeks, there have been lots of Democrats who have been giving little anonymous quotes to the press, to some journalists, to print. And I'm not here to knock the press on it. I'm here to knock my colleagues on it.
Dude, that's a huge point right there.
I think that's...
Right? That all these, like those Axios articles that have people saying, top Democratic staffers or top Joe Biden staffers are saying, he can't win. He needs to go. But they're not saying a name, which is then everybody's wondering, who are these people? Are they actually real? And if they really believe that, why aren't they coming out on the record? Like, either stand up and be heard and say, yes, I'm here, like standing for this thing, or shut the...
That's bullshit.
Yeah.
Like,
thank you,
if you
AOC.
have an opinion, say it with your chest and say it in public.
Yes.
But the idea that you are an elected official and you are supposed to be responsible for a community,
right?
And you're just gonna like
hide
some journalist on the low and say, this is what I think, but don't put my name next to it.
Yeah, you're gonna hide like an anonymous Twitter account.
What are you here to do?
Right?
If that's your opinion and if that's what you think is best for the country, put your name on it.
Yes.
Okay? But instead, it's all this little pick a little, talk a little to whatever, texting some pundit about what they think because they're too cowardly to like come out with a public opinion. Coming for the people who have made a public statement and put their name on it. Like, Lord knows, I've done plenty of that myself. I'm talking about people who are too scared to say what they want to say in public, but somehow not afraid to say what they want to say to a journalist so long as they promise not to use their name. That's a bunch of horse shit. And then there was recently a quote unquote senior Democratic leader that said, I'm just resigning myself to a Trump victory. Leave your seat. Leave.
Yeah, there you go.
Just leave. Like, that is so garbage. That is such a fundamental lack of leadership. And I don't care what party you're from. Like, just leave. Like, just go work for a lobbyist. Go cash in on Wall Street if that's what you feel. Like, why keep that seat warm? This job is hard. It takes a lot of effort. You're resigning yourself to losing? Why don't you just turn in your keys early and give it to someone who gives a damn? Anyways, moving on. Number one is the legal viability. Number two, I don't think people understand what it takes in terms of running a presidential campaign.
This is huge.
And I'm going to say what a lot of these folks aren't saying. I'm just going to say it. If you think that there is consensus among the people who want Joe Biden to leave,
there is not.
That they will support Kamala,
right?
Vice President Harris, you would be mistaken.
I guarantee you there's not consensus. I guarantee you that every donor and every pundit and every group of voters or whatever that have some kind of issue, they all want different things. There's not a majority. I don't even know if there'd be a plurality. The Bernie bros, dude, they're the worst. They're going to go to the grave with like some poll that like Bernie could have beaten Trump, even though he couldn't win a goddamn primary. It's like, bro, get off Bernie, man. Bernie is like fentanyl to these motherfuckers. He is, dude. I don't think you can plug and play. Political campaigns are not the door guy at Chili's. You can't just swap out somebody, swap somebody in, and the whole thing just goes on like nothing happened. No.
I'm going to say that because if they're going to come out and say all their little things on background off the record, but they're not going to be fully honest, I'm going to be honest for them. I'm in these rooms. I see what they say in conversations. A lot of them are not just interested in removing the president. They are interested in removing the whole ticket.
I literally think some of these people are trying to do this because the debate made them realize that Kamala Harris is going to end up being president a year or two into the next term. I think they're trying to get rid of Kamala. That's what I think this is really about. I mean, I'm telling you, dude, in America, follow the racism. This is America. This is the slave nation. If you really want to know why decisions are being made in America, follow the racism. Every time. It will take you there. That's really what I'm starting to think this is about. I think the lefties are getting used. The donors saw the debate. They realized that Kamala is going to be president, and that is something they do not want. And they know the lefties are mad about Gaza. So they're like, okay, let's create a stir about Joe Biden. We'll use the age thing, and then we'll get rid of Kamala. I shit you not. It's all because there's no convention. Like if Joe was nominated tomorrow, this would be over. He'd be the candidate, and then it's put up or shut up. Everybody's squawking now because they can.
I can't tell you that because as we all know, politics is insane. Anyone who tells you 100% what's going to happen is lying to you or engaged in an enormous amount of hubris.
Yeah.
I'm not here to tell you that if Joe Biden is the nominee, he's definitely going to win. But because I don't think if anybody is the nominee, we're definitely going to win. Okay? And I understand where we want to talk about hedging bets. But I do want you to know
it's true, Ingrid.
Uncorked. Because if you think that's going to be an easy transition, I'm here to tell you that
it would be
huge
chaos
of the donor class and a huge amount of these elites and a huge amount of these folks in these rooms that I see that are pushing for President Biden to not be the nominee also are not interested in seeing the vice president being the nominee.
That's really it. Yeah.
Will they win out on that? I don't know. But I am here to tell you, do not take that for granted. Do not take that outcome for granted. It may make sense to you. It may be sorry guys, I don't know why this
I love the fireworks, dude.
It may make sense to you. It may be the logical thing, but I'm here to tell you that that is not a sure thing. And by the way, President Biden and Vice President Harris have been campaigning their behinds off, and there is a war chest of at least $100 million prepared for the general election. If there is a new Democratic nominee, that money cannot be transferred.
It's gone.
Okay? I'm just like telling you what I know.
$100 million gone.
It can be transferred from a top of the ticket to number 2 on the ticket. It cannot be transferred to someone else.
That's it.
All right?
That's huge.
From what I have known.
Kamala could
I can also
be the candidate.
That I have stood up in rooms with all of these people, and I have said, game out your actual plan for me. Game it out.
See, this is what I've wanted to see. Even when I was arguing with Jules the other day on Twitter, where he was like, how are you going to win over the swing voters with Biden, blah, 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 blah. And then he kept telling me I don't know shit about elections and I don't know shit about swing states, even though I'm from Wisconsin and all my family's there. And that guy lives in New York City. But what he would not answer is you keep talking about these moderate voters in the Midwest. And what makes you think the moderate voters in the Midwest are going to vote for Kamala Harris? When she ran for president, her campaign didn't even move the needle. Not even the tiniest bit. She's had a lot of baggage that has haunted her. In fact, when Joe Biden picked her, a lot of people in the Midwest didn't like that. A lot of voters didn't want to vote for Joe Biden. People thought maybe Joe Biden wasn't going to win. And now to think all of a sudden that, you know, some factory workers at the Tyson Chicken Factory in Wisconsin are going to vote for this black woman that they didn't really love being vice president, but now they're going to vote for her to be president simply because they don't like Trump. The fact that they think that that is more likely than them being willing to vote for a guy they already voted for who did a good job and brought a $3 billion Microsoft plant to their state. You catch my drift? And that's not to say that Kamala doesn't deserve it or couldn't win, because I would vote for her in a second. But I don't see a lot of the white people that I know from small town Wisconsin who would be willing to vote for her. And they would more likely be willing to vote for an 81-year-old Joe Biden than they would for a black woman that they're not sure how they feel about. That's the thing that you can't factor in there. And now these left-wingers who would have no problem voting for Kamala Harris or any black woman, they see as like, oh, of course they'd vote for her. But I think it would be a little more complicated.
Like, what are the risks of this going to the Supreme Court? Like, what are these things, right? And I'm not here to like assert any major thing. If y'all want to come with the receipts in the comments, that's fine. But what I can tell you is that I have stood up in rooms of folks making these decisions, and I have raised these questions, and no one had an answer for me.
Yikes.
Maybe they have an answer now. I don't know. No one's gotten back to me. But
that's a problem, right? That the guys that are sort of hatching the mastermind of like, this is our big plan. And she says, hey, okay, it's your big plan. Well, game this out for me. Show me the roadmap. And none of them have a map. That's not confidence inspiring.
Hello? Like,
thank you.
Nobody responded. While I understand the case that some folks may be making from a theoretical perspective and from even maybe, I don't know, a polling perspective, I'm here to also, like, as a person who is responsible for executing decisions and not just opining on them, I can tell you that I have not seen, I don't know why the fireworks keep going. I have not seen.
Fireworks crack me up every time.
The plan. And when a convention is in 4-ish weeks, when Michigan has to finalize their ballot 2 days after the convention concludes.
Ad buys are already happening.
The convention could then go on for days if you have a bunch of nominees, and then before you know it, you blow past the Michigan deadline if you don't have a nominee in 2 days or whenever it may be, and then the legal problems start to mount. Okay, and so I am concerned about the lack of thought that I have seen from the individuals that would be responsible for executing on this. Okay? And so, like, that is before the fact that, you know, people want to talk about polling. I'm not here to tell you, like, polling is amazing. In fact, I'm pretty sure that if there was a candidate that the polling was like a slam dunk on, maybe all this would be going down differently right now. But there is no safe option. There's no safe option. And I think given the stakes of this moment, we all want to run to safety and we want to run to the sure thing. And I think it's important to operate with integrity. If you 10,000% are super convinced,
just not a sure thing,
that the
you know what I mean,
or the president cannot beat Donald Trump, then like do what you think is in.
It is not a sure thing.
Your good conscience.
Neither is him losing a sure thing.
I have not seen a scenario, an alternative scenario that I feel does not set us up for enormous peril.
So dumb.
We need
doing
to
this right now.
Sit with the stakes, with the reality, and if you come to the same conclusion, fine. But I'm not seeing enough discussion And I also don't want people to take for granted that the people in these rooms, like, totally for sure 10,000% have a plan. Maybe somebody does and they're not sharing it. That's also a possibility. I'm not here to knock on anybody that has come to a different conclusion. What I'm here to say is that as a person responsible for coming to a conclusion, I have not seen what I need to see to substantiate an alternative. And what I will say is what upsets me is people saying we will lose.
Yeah, that pisses me off too. Dude,
for me,
that really pisses me off. That whole, like, the election's already over. That shit. And I'm hearing a lot of that from the far lefties. And that, man, makes me want to boot their dumbasses straight out of the party and be like, go f yourself. I mean, if you don't believe you can win, then it's already over. That doesn't mean you can simply believe you can win. You can't believe, just say, oh, I believe we can win, and then you win. It's not that simple. But you cannot win. No matter how much work you do, no matter how hard you try, you cannot win if you believe you can't. The belief doesn't guarantee the win, but a lack of belief guarantees a loss. That whole resignation shit, that's clownery, bro.
I don't care who, to a certain extent, I don't care what name is on there. We are not losing. I don't know about you, but my community does not have the option to lose. My community does not have the luxury of accepting loss in July of an election year. Like, my people are the first ones deported. They're the first ones put in Rikers. They're the first ones whose families are killed by war. And this is horrific. I'm not here to, like, say everything is amazing, okay? I'm not here to say that, like, oh, you know, to lie to people. What I am here to say is that we need to make decisions in the conditions that we have before us. Even if they're ugly, even if they're hard, even if what we don't want, like, we don't get to run away.
Right. Good point. Good point. You got to put up or shut up.
Like,
me too.
Truly.
I'm in.
I do think that people underestimate Biden's performance. I think that is how he became president. It's through a lot of people underestimating his performance with demographics that are not traditionally valued. And I think that people see where he's weak. They don't often see where he's strong. And just electorally, purely electorally, right? Like, again, suspending some of the other arguments here. And I'm not a professional pollster. I am not a political pundit. I am a person whose job it is to win elections. And people may say, oh, blah, 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 like, you're from whatever place you're from, and because you're from where you're from, like, you don't deserve to be qualified in that. I can tell you that I have won elections that I have had no business winning. I can tell you that in my four primary elections and in several other general elections, but particularly my 4 primary elections, my vote share has only gone up since I first won election. Even with disinformation campaigns targeting me, even with, like, whatever from the left, from the right, whatever, saying I ain't this, I ain't that. Here's what I know. I won my primary election with 82% of the vote.
Damn.
82% of the vote.
Damn.
I think
That's
may
significant.
Have won
That's Joe Biden numbers.
Share, in terms of a primary, if not the entire city of New York, perhaps the entire state of New York.
And now I haven't seen it, but I heard after NATO, when he came out and did the 1 hour press conference where he talked about foreign policy, I did not see any of the clips, but I was reading people talk about it on Twitter. I was at the Oregon Country Fair with shitty internet. I was in a tent at like 4 a.m, scrapping on my 2 bars. You could only get internet like after 2 a.m. when all the people went to sleep. But he was apparently showing some mastery of his breadth of knowledge about U.S. foreign policy and complex international relations, doing an unscripted question answering press conference about international foreign relations for 50 minutes, something that Donald Trump could never do. That guy could not. I mean, when he got asked questions, even during COVID, he started screaming at the reporters and insulting them. We all know that Donald Trump could not get in front of an audience and have a serious hour-long question and answer session and show mastery about any aspect of the job of being president. He would be incapable, and he gets a free pass for that, while simultaneously being a wannabe dictator and a degenerate, misogynist, criminal, felonious, sexual abusing twerp. And he gets forgiven. Like, the guy has no mastery of any aspect of the job. Joe Biden has all the mastery that you could ask for, and he even shows it as an old, decrepit 81-year-old man. He can still get up there and display his mastery. And everyone's like, nah. I have a real problem with that.
Energy of people around him. And he just did a rally in Detroit. And when he's around thousands of people, that is how he resonates. And again, I'm not here to like dismiss, and you can totally rake me over the coals. Trust me, if I was trying to do something that was like, that I think was like calculatingly the best for me, I would not be on this live right now. You know, like, it's just easy to just hang back. But the reason I'm doing it is because I care about the future of this country. I care about the outcome of this election profoundly and deeply.
This isn't even about Biden. It shouldn't even be about Biden. We should be able to run, Alfred E. Newman against Donald Trump, and he should win 70%. You know what I'm saying? Your left nut should be able to get up on a podium like Annoying Orange and sit there and do this and beat Donald Trump. But the press is writing articles like this. You got CNN writing a think piece like this, basically saying, oh, Trump's not really bad to women. This sexual abuser who said he grabs him by the penis, cheated multiple times on every wife and lied and covered it up to cheat and win the presidency. But hey, look, he's actually pretty good. The women who know him say, oh, he's not bad. Why are they doing this for this guy who's threatening to dismantle the entire government? That doesn't make sense. There is something very wrong. The same people that are saying Trump ain't so bad are saying Joe Biden's going to destroy the country. Like, come on, bro. And the thing about Project 2025 is if we take Trump at his word, that means he says he doesn't know about Project 2025. Okay, let's say for a minute he really is being honest. Let's just say he's actually honest. That means he's ignorant to the massive pet project of 140 people who've worked for him, many of whom still do, and he talks to every day. So that means everybody around him is working on this thing and he knows nothing about it. So that means he doesn't even know what his entire administration is doing. He's not a leader at all. He's a buffoon who's standing around while everyone around him is carrying out these grandiose plans, and he has no idea what his administration is doing. So either A, he's a complete moron who has an entire group of people he works with every day, and he's such a piss poor leader, he has no idea what they're even working on, or B, he's lying and he knows exactly what it is. And he's bullshitting because he knows that if he tells the truth, no one will vote for him. There is no third option. That's what's weird, because we have Biden and Harris, Biden says he's not stepping down. Gretchen Whitmer, Gavin Newsom, these other people that, Pete Buttigieg, Kamala, these people that they've said could take his place have all said, no, we're not doing this. We're backing Biden. Now, my question is why are the people who think that they could blow all that up against the will of Newsom and Whitmer and Buttigieg and Kamala and Biden himself, and you got people like AOC and the squad that are behind Biden? So the people who say, no, forget all of you people, we want to blow it up anyway, and they think that their blow up scenario is going to energize and get everyone on board, even though all the people they want to put in there are saying, no, we're not going in, we're backing Biden, you need to back Biden. Why can't they simply just back Biden? You know what I'm saying? Because he is 100% going to lose? See, that's just it. No. That's incorrect. You don't know with assuredness that he is 100% going to lose. And the thing about it is if you think he's 100% going to lose, then you're actually part of the problem. Somebody who says he's 100% going to lose is not somebody who's on the squad, because you can't guarantee any candidate is going to win. If Trump thought he was going to win, he wouldn't be denying Project 2025. Okay, but think about this, guys. He's gone to the middle on abortion rights. So clearly, Donald Trump knows this ain't a shoo-in. He's not guaranteed to win. He is scrambling. He is taking core parts of his platform and he's going back on them, dodging them, and lying about it. Why? Because he doesn't think he can win. So clearly, it's not a shoo-in. If Donald Trump thought it was a shoo-in, he would be saying, yeah, I back Project 2025. Yeah, we're going to do a national abortion ban. You, I got this easy. But Donald Trump isn't doing that. Donald Trump is literally changing his own personal electoral views, and his entire party is pretending they don't really believe what they believe. So clearly they're not doing that if they're a guaranteed winner. The shit about CNN saying Biden can't win while simultaneously writing an article covering for Trump, it's not adding up, guys. Something's not adding up. Guaranteed winners don't all of a sudden go soft on their policy positions. They hold firm when they believe in it, when they know they're going to win. You see what I'm saying? The only person that's holding firm right now is Joe Biden. He's the only goddamn person. And AOC and Gretchen Whitmer and Gavin Newsom, you know what I'm saying? The only people that are holding firm are these people.